Hi, I'm Paula and welcome to the fourth in the series of basic face painting tips. Today we're going to talk about stenciling. Now, stenciling can add so much dimension to a design. It's really helpful to have a selection of stencils. Now you can buy stencils that are things and you can buy stencils that are effects. Typical things would be unicorn horns, Fortnite logos, snowflakes, clouds, things like that. And typical effects would be animal print, reptile skin, etc. Now, it's difficult to know which ones to buy. There's so many out there, so many. And I must admit, as an old-fashioned painter, I did I didn't really want to use the ones that were things for a long time because it didn't feel right. You know, I could paint a snowflake or I could paint a unicorn horn, but some of them are now creeping into my kit. As I say, know which ones to buy, you know, it's personal choice again, but all I can suggest is have a look at artists that you admire, have a look at their work, see if it looks as though they use any stencils, and if they do, see if you can find ones like that and try them yourselves. If you don't like them, you don't like them, you can always sell them on. Knowing when to use a stencil just comes with practice. They're typically used for filling in areas that would otherwise be blank and also for giving dimension and adding texture to your designs. And for the ones that are things, you know, like clouds and unicorn horns, they can really help to speed up your work because you're not having to worry about painting the items. You're just going to stencil them on and get a perfect result every time. Now typically when using a stencil, you'll use either your sponge or you'll use a finger dauber. Again, it's personal preference. I personally don't get on with finger daubers. I just find them fiddly, and if I've got my nails done at the time, I just don't get on with them. And for speed, I've always got a sponge in my hand anyway because I've done the base. So all I do is I flip the sponge over and use the clean side to do the stenciling with, and for me it's easier and it's quicker. One thing to note is that if you are going to stencil, you must make sure that the base is completely dry underneath where you're going to put the stencil, and also make sure that the stencil is dry. If you put the stencil onto the wet paint, it is just going to make a mess. The secret also for stenciling is to have a nice dryish sponge or finger dauber. If you go in with your paint too wet, you will just get a mess because it will either run under the stencil or it will activate the base that you've already put on. Also, less is often more with stenciling. If you've done some pretty delicate flowers around somebody's eye, what you don't then want to do is overwhelm that with loads and loads of black stenciling. It just won't look right. So always try to use your stencil as an addition to the painted design rather than something that may overpower it. Okay, so here we have a couple of very simple designs. This one's just a rainbow and this one's just a really quick no frills eye design. Now, for the rainbow, a lot of people put clouds at the end of them, so that's where you get your stencil that is a thing. It is a cloud. I've got a couple of different ones, but this is a nice one that I've got. It's got two different sizes depending on the design I'm doing. So all you do is you lay your stencil down where you want it, and then you dampen your sponge. Please ignore the fact that this is all stained. It's just an old sponge that I use for sort of messing about doing things like this. So you dampen your sponge, make sure it's not too wet, and then you load your white by rubbing and rubbing and rubbing until the cake looks dry. You've got plenty on your sponge, and then all you do, holding your stencil in place, is you dab. Try not to swipe, because if you swipe, a couple of things could happen. One is that you can push the paint underneath the edge, and the other thing is if it's got any sticky out bits in it, like this bit here, you can catch against them. So that's that done. And then when you lift your stencil off, try not drag it because I don't want to mess it up. There we go, we've got a lovely cloud on the end of our rainbow. And you could do another one up here. So So on this one, there's a number of things you can do. You can get all sorts of beautiful leaf stencils and love hearts, stars, whatever. Or you can do a pattern. You could do, I mean this one's typically used for monsters, but I also use it in girly designs as well. But what you wouldn't do is you wouldn't put it here and then go over the whole thing. You would just probably do a line up here. In fact, I'll just do that and just show you. I'm going to dampen the other side of the sponge, and I'm going to get, what colour shall I get? This will do. And as I say, if it's not damp enough, you just put a little bit more water on, but never put loads on to begin with. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to hold this in place, and I'm just going to go in the direction I want the design to be. So I want it to be a little bit wider at the bottom here, where the line work is, and then a little bit thinner going up here. I'm just going to leave that a second. If I was painting on a face, I'd pull it straight off. Because I'm on the board and working flat, it's harder to lift it off, especially with these stupid nails. So there we go. That's come off, and it's left a nice pattern there. And you could do something similar down here. Alternatively, you can get some nice shapes. This one here is one of my favourites. I use this bit here for Minecraft a lot. This one I use on, you know, superheroes. It just gives a lovely effect to make them look a bit cartoony. But this is my favourite. So I often do this on eye designs. So pop that there. Just get some more colour. Go a little bit darker this time. And then same effect. Just blob it on. And then lift it off. Oh, it stuck to my fingers. Marvellous. So there you go. That's how to use both a thing and an effect. I'm just going to show you one more. Okay, so this is a really, really simple monster design. I'm going back to this stencil. What I'm going to do is I'm going to load. Now, it is tempting to load black, but sometimes it's nice to just pick out one of the colours that's already in it. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to get some of this darker colour that I've used on the cake. It's got a little bit black in it. And then what I'm going to do, and I'm going to use the focal points that we spoke about in the last video. I'm going to point towards this bit here, because all the lines, if you look at the curve of that horn, if you followed that round, it's coming to here. Same with this one, same with this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop this up here. Obviously on the job it wouldn't have pink on it because I would clean it between people. Just exactly the same. Just dab, dab, dab. And lift away. And then I'm just going to dampen my sponge slightly. Pick up some more of that nice colour. And then do the same here. And maybe some down here. And some down here. And you see what I mean? It just gives what was a really boring monster, it just gives it a little bit more interest. You can also do, you can also get a lighter colour. Try and find a bit of sponge that hasn't got paint on it. So if I go here for the lighter colour and highlight these bits here. There you go. Hope these handy tips have been helpful, and I'll see you next time.